Hey guys, Drumsiders here, and welcome to the debut episode of Player's Perspective, a new series of interviews where I talk to some of your favourite YouTubers and find out what makes them tick. Today's guest is someone who's really enthusiastic about life, from lover of all things anime to her fearsome editing skills on shows like Sword and Stitches and Nerdy Nummies. Please welcome Miss Erin Lee. Erin, how are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing very well, yes. It's been snowing over here, so
Really?
yes, it has. It's been started on Friday evening, and it's been quite a winter wonderland out there. I'm a month late, but we've got some snow.
I'm jealous. I love snow. It's like one of those things that I miss about Nebraska so much. I just love it a lot. It's great.
Yeah. So that's a good place to start. So you are from Nebraska, yes?
Yes. The
Lincoln, Nebraska?
heartland, middle of America.
Really middle America, like almost right in the center when you look at maps.
Yep, smack dab in the middle there.
So, you are an editor at the Game Station, is that
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a smaller section of Maker Studios as a whole. So, how do you get into that? It seems like a really great job to have.
It's an amazing job to have. I feel really blessed to have it. I love it so much. I actually got involved in Maker Studios when it was still pretty small. I started when I think there was only about 20 people, and there was only about 4 other editors other than me, I think it was. And the way I actually got brought out here is my husband, David. He's one of the executives at Maker Studios. Danny, who's the president, he really wanted David to come out and work for him. He loved David's background and his skills, and so he really wanted David to come out. And they needed more editors, and I happened to be going to school with a minor in editing because it was one of those things that I always really wanted to do, but I didn't necessarily know if I could do it in Nebraska or if I wanted to leave. And so they needed more editors, and they found out I was going, and they offered to teach me everything. And so I was like, well, that's a baller deal. So they actually moved out here. They helped us move, and they really wanted both of us for our skills. And so I got really lucky in that they were willing to take a chance on me because I actually didn't know the technicals too much about it. I knew the creative side. I was all self-taught for the most part. And so they took a real chance on me, which I am always super grateful for. And I only worked on really minor things at the beginning. It was really small stuff, but I eventually worked my way up and became a part of the Game Station and got to work on more narrative and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we got brought into it, was that they actually reached out to us and wanted us to come out here. So
when you got approached, did you start off just editing for Maker and then move into the Game Station? Is that how it happened?
When I started, Game Station was an idea. It wasn't actually a full force project thing yet. So I was working on a lot of Station 2 things, so a lot of behind the scenes, really easy to cut sort of things. So that's the first stuff I worked on. And I also worked on end slates, very minor things. It was all just learning how to use Final Cut. Before I moved out here, I'd never used Final Cut Pro before. And that's what they were editing on. And so I had to learn how to do it. I ended up learning how to do it, I think, in about a day and a half, though. So I learned really quickly. But it was all very minor stuff I worked on. And then when the Game Station formed, they needed editors specifically for Game Station stuff. And so they kind of broke away into their own little pod in order to focus on Game Station only. And so I was one of the editors they chose to bring on for that because I had worked on 1 or 2 things with them and they really liked my work. So I got to be honored in order to go and join with them. And I just kind of stuck with it for the entire time. Most time, I think I started working with the Game Station specifically about 6 months after I started at Maker. So.
Cool. So, for those who don't know, could you sort of describe Maker Studios for those who haven't really heard of it before? Because I'm sure there are some people out there living under a rock somewhere. Yeah, that's about it.
I'll do my best. I'm a lot better at describing it. I'm just we made videos for people. Maker Studios is a YouTube production studio that helps channels promote their work and also helps them out creating content, getting them better ads on their content, getting them noticed by brand deals and stuff like that. So they're a big part of making a bigger YouTube community, bringing people together to help one another, and also just to promote their work and kind of grow their channels. Like they're dedicated to helping people grow their channels. So
cool. And so it's when I sort of yeah, no, that sounds good. That was great. Yeah, that was cool. Sort of when I sort of when I sort of discovered the game station, and so like I guess towards the end of 2010, I was like, you sort of said you started doing more of the like sketch videos, and I was watching them, and I was thinking, the first question I thought was, who's bankrolling this place? You're having so much fun, and I'm thinking like, you know, I couldn't find any other company who's like doing all these video game riffs and parodies, and I'm thinking like, who's signing the checks? Because it's like surely a place on its own couldn't be operating by itself. So once I did some more research on it, I found out Maker, and it seems like a really great company, and I think I think you guys have a really really unique vision sort of the future and what you want entertainment to be like.
Definitely. We're definitely having to bring new media and old media together, kind of merging the two, and like just giving people, I think that YouTube is such an amazing medium for just creativity, because there's never been a medium where like the audience is so close to the person making the content. And it's just so new and different. And I love that Maker is trying to kind of bring the two together and just help people become more interactive with other people. And it's just really awesome. I love it a lot.
It's sort of interesting, sort of the term new media, because I guess in like it makes sense now between traditional sort of more passive media like TV and more the interactive stuff like YouTube. But I guess in like 15-20 years that will be like traditional media.
Yeah,
I guess that's going to be an odd thing, and I guess we'll have to call the next innovation after that like post new media or something like that. And then it will just get more and more like pretentious. Yeah.
More and more. I can't imagine what it's going to be. It's like, are we going to just have YouTube videos in our brain? Like, what is it going to be? I don't know. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I think at the Consumer Electronics Show, I think they showed a device which sort of it's like sort of a bit like the visors in Star Trek, where it's sort of connected to your ear, and it's like there's like a screen in front of your eye.
Yeah, I saw those.
I guess that's where it's heading.
Where it's going.
Yeah, exactly. So before you sort of moved out to Los Angeles, you were living in Nebraska. So what were you doing before then?
I was going to the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. I was majoring in human resources. I wanted to be a human resources manager, and then minoring in film editing. So I actually just started at the University of Nebraska the January before we moved out. So in January 2010, we moved out in June of 2010. So I'd only gone there for a semester because I'd gone to community college before that. So I was majoring in human resources, minoring in film editing, and I was working at Office Depot, which was super fun, but doing print stuff. But other than that, it was just going to classes, working, trying to do, because I paid for my college all by myself, so I worked a lot trying to do that. Hung out with David, did stuff with him. So it wasn't that exciting. Like, it was just living in a Lincoln, Nebraska, which is like a small town. It's a city with a small town feel. So it wasn't too exciting. I wasn't doing very much. I was watching a lot of anime, stuff like that, but otherwise I wasn't too dedicated to do a whole lot other than school and work and stuff like that.
So you said Lincoln is quite a small town, you say?
It's the capital city, but if I were to go there, like if I was somebody that was born in LA and then I went to Lincoln, Nebraska, I would be so confused. I'd be like, this is not a city. What are these people talking about? But yeah, it's a very hometown feel, small town. Like there's times where you're driving and there's not any other traffic at like 3 p.m. There's nobody else. And then there's it has like the lowest crime rate, I think, out of most cities or something like that. It's just a very small town. There's not too much to do. There's like movies and going to the bars. It's just like bowling,
so is
laser tag. That's about it.
So is it like that sort of area where everyone knows everyone type of feel?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, I could be driving at any point during any day of the week, and I would see one or two people that I went to high school with. It's just like you always run into people. Most people stay there, a
Hmm.
lot of people leave, and it's just everybody knows everybody, which is a good thing. Like, I mean, I really liked it. I probably wouldn't mind moving back there someday. Like, I loved it a lot, but it's just it's everybody knows everybody. There's really not too many new faces that come in there kind of
Yeah.
thing. But I mean it's still fun. Like the people there are fantastic. They're very nice and respectful and really kind. Like there's really kind people there. Like they're really great people. I love my Lincoln, Nebraska. I love my Nebraska.
It's kind of interesting thing to hear because you say it's that sort of area where everyone knows everyone, but like when you sort of compare it to somewhere like London, where I'm from, it's so large and there are so many different sort of individual boroughs. Is that you could know someone, but you won't. But it's a sort of place where you could be living at like quite a distance away, and like you would only see them at school or university because it's such a large area.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting sort of to see sort of compare and contrast it with other areas, other cities where like everything's more local. It has that more local feel to it.
Yeah, definitely. I actually didn't grow up in Lincoln. I grew up about 10, 15 miles south of it in the country. So like the town, I'm using quotations because it's really
Yeah.
it's actually just an intersection. Like they didn't call it a town. It was just an intersection with houses built around it. And so it was like 100 people, if that. And so like the high school I went to was in the middle of a cornfield. Like there was a cornfield on every single side of it. Like no, it wasn't in a town even. And so like, yeah, I think about the same thing when I moved to LA. It was so big. I was like, there's endless city. I didn't understand it. Just like, where is the corn? Where are the cows? Where does it end? I don't understand. I understand what you mean. Like comparing completely different places is crazy.
It's just and so we mentioned it before we went on air, but you are married to David Sievers, who is the current vice president of corporate development at Maker Studios.
Yep.
So how did I guess the best place to start would be at the beginning? How did you two guys meet?
We actually met signing up for classes at a community college. He was really good friends with my best friend, Allison, and we found out that we were all going to be going to the same community college. So we decided to meet up and all sign up for classes together. And that was the first time I had met him. Like I had heard about him, I knew about him. And he was a little bit older. He actually started a mail sorting business right out of high school, so he never went to school. And he just decided he wanted to go back because people were kind of giving him crap about the fact that he didn't have a degree. And he
didn't have a formal education.
Yeah, he's like, I started a business. What do you want from me? And so, but he decided to go back because it was just like he didn't know if that's what he wanted to do with the rest of his life. And so he's like, I might as well get a degree just because I can maybe do something different with it. And so we met up, and that was the first time I met him. And I was actually dating somebody else at the time. It was kind of just a high school, like, sweetheart relationship. But so we met up, and we just hit it off. Like, we had very similar sense of humor. We both really enjoyed being around each other. We had very similar interests, and we ended up taking a class together. We took macroeconomics, which I thought, okay, this is going to be really embarrassing to say, but I thought it was a cooking class. Because macro as in macaroon, and then economics as in home economics where you cook things, and I was disappointed when I got the textbook. What is this? What are these words? I don't understand this combination of things. And so he kind of tutored my best friend and I, and so we ended up hanging out a lot, and we just hit it off really well. And I'd broken up with the other boyfriend just because it wasn't working out. And then like David and I just became really good friends over the next few months. So we just kind of hit it off really well. And it just became love from there, basically.
So David's also responsible for co-founding the Game Station network and also founding the RPM network.
Yep.
Which
recently history, bro.
Yeah, so well, I'm part of the RPM network, so I do my research.
Awesome. Good for
So,
you. More people need to do that.
have you sort of been on more of the network side, or do you just sort of stick mainly to the production end, or post production, I should say?
I am solely on the post production side. What's really cool about like working at the same place as David, this might sound mean, but we never see each other. Like we never see each other at work. And most people, when they find out that a husband and wife work together, it's like, oh, you guys are spending way too much time together. And we're just like, we never see each other. We're in two completely different buildings. And we kind of make it a thing where like we'll stop by and see each other every now and then. But he's entirely business side. Like he does not have anything to do with production for the most part. Like he did for a while at the beginning there when the game station needed guidance, but now he's strictly like contracts and business and doing all sorts of number stuff that I don't understand, and I'm doing the editing stuff that he doesn't understand. So yeah, we're in two completely different parts of it, and it's really nice because it's like we work at two different places because we can come home and over dinner just talk about totally different days and like at the same place but two completely different days that we experience. So yeah, I'm completely on the post side. Like there's times where like I'll talk with network people and things like that, but I really don't have much interaction otherwise. So
I suppose that's kind of a bit of an odd situation where you're going to the same like place of work, but it's like but you just end up discussing the day's events back at home.
Yeah.
Seeing
yeah, because there's completely different days. Like I work with different people in a different place. He works with different people, and like we used to carpool because it was like we're going to the same place. We might as well. But we realized that wasn't working out because he was going to meetings that would go until like 9 p.m. and I didn't have a ride home, so I was just sitting at the office like, what do I do? I'm hungry. So we didn't have a carpool anymore because that was really sad. So yeah, it's just completely different days, which I enjoy. Like I love him to death. I would spend every single day with him if I could, but I think that it's also really good that we have kind of different lives when it comes to work at times too. So
yeah. So if we sort of now talk more about your YouTube channel, which is HappiLeeErin.
Yes.
And now your channel's all about reviewing different types of anime and giving first impressions when the new seasons come out. And you also do a friendly anime talk show. We bring on. You've had two people on so far. You've had Davis from the Warp Zone, that's Michael Davis, and Dodger.
Yes.
So I see that you started the channel back the start date back in 2010. I think that's what it says. So but you didn't actually start properly doing videos for until about a year and a half later, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I would actually say that I started being committed seriously to it this past August, like July, August. Before that, like I started it just so I could subscribe to people and comment and things like that. And then I was trying to figure out, like, I really wanted to do something because after we moved out here, I was just around so many creative people. And then I was seeing them use like their YouTube network to connect and like touch people and just help people in different ways. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, I would love to be able to do something like that. And so I was trying to figure out what I could do that like would be interesting content because I'm not a very interesting person. And so
I wouldn't say that.
Well, thanks. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And then I realized that I had like a lot of useless knowledge about anime, and I love and adore anime and manga. So I was like, maybe I'll just start trying to review stuff. And so I put up one video, and then I think it was like 6 months to a year before I put up another one. And it was just because I wasn't very dedicated to it. Like, I just didn't really feel like doing it. And then this past summer, I think like I was going through some rough stuff, and I was just like, I need something to like focus on, just to like put my mind on in order to like put energy to. And it became my YouTube channel. And I had a lot of support right from the get-go, especially from Dodger and Ro. Those are two that have been super supportive, and I love them and thank them so often for it because they're just awesome people. And so, yeah, I kind of got really dedicated to it this past I'm talking way too fast. I need to take a breath.
Take your time.
Really dedicated to it this past summer, and like just getting the response from people and hearing people that say they don't know where else to look for anime, I think it's been really helpful too. And just people liking it is mind blowing to me. Like, it's really awesome. I just can't get over the fact that people watch it, and it's just so cool to me. And so, yeah, I became very dedicated to it this past summer, and just it's becoming more and more like there's more stuff I want to do to it. And as it grows, I get more and more excited about it. So,
I suppose living where you are in sort of LA, it's sort of like YouTube Central. There's so many of you out there, so it's like if someone sort of starts a channel, it's very easy for them to sort of get promotion, I guess, from shout outs from other people.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So
yeah, I consider myself very, very lucky, and it's just like they're just great. Everyone I've gotten support from are just great people anyway, and they're always just so supportive of their friends, which is awesome. So.
If you were sort of living somewhere else, then not many people might have heard you because they're not doing YouTube and things, so like they may not think it's cool. So it's like you may not get the shout outs if you live somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think the network I've built here is definitely a big part of why my channel is currently where it's at. And I also think if I were living anywhere else, I wouldn't have the creative motivation to continue doing it, just because when I'm here, like somebody will be like, okay, well, I can't go hang out because I have to film. And I'm just like, I love the fact that somebody is so dedicated and working towards it. Like if I lived anywhere else, like there's people making you can make YouTube videos anywhere in the world and get supported from it and grow from it. Like I don't think you have to live in LA in order to make YouTube work for you.
But it certainly helps.
It helps.
I guess.
Yeah, it definitely helps having that network. But yeah. So I think like if I were anywhere else, I wouldn't feel quite as creatively motivated to continue doing it. And it's also, you can get as many shout outs as you want, and you can get as many people helping you that you want, but if you're not putting out content regularly, like I know this myself, like if I wasn't going to put out content regularly, like when I went from in between like 6 months between one video and the next, like I didn't get very many views. I didn't have a very big following. It's because people didn't know who I was. They didn't remember who I was the next time I put out a video. And so it's like, you got to be able to put out regular stuff. And I think if like I lived anywhere else, or even if I lived here and wasn't dedicated to it, it wouldn't be working out quite as much. But yeah, the network definitely helps. Like having people that are supportive and like those connections really does help too.
Yeah, I think if you're starting on YouTube, I think the first thing is that you have to have a real passion about whatever it is you're making videos about. Definitely. No matter what it is, because people will see that, you know, if you're being genuine or not.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and are you planning to have any sort of future guests on your friendly anime talk show?
I am. It kind of just comes and goes. Whoever, like, I feel like having like somebody on with it. It's more of a sporadic thing. I'm trying to set it up so that I'm able to do like Skype interviews and stuff with people for it as well. I know Indie Static, Josh from Indie Static, I think is going to be on it. Frodo, I'm not Frodo, who's Jared Rosen.
Jared,
yep,
one of the writers at TGS.
He's awesome. I adore him. I think planning on being on it with me as well. So it's just kind of more of a sporadic thing. So like I said, I'm trying to set it up for Skype to have more people on it right now too. So, and Courtney Pants, she doesn't watch too much anime, but I think her just coming on would be awesome and fun. So
yeah, I recently checked out that Mayo, is that what the show's called?
Yes.
You did last week you did a little sort of preview on it. So I watched the first couple of episodes and it's pretty good.
Yeah, I love it. I like it a lot. So when I first saw the boob jiggling, I was like, "Oh no, no, I don't want it." But
there's a lot of fan service they've chucked in.
There's a lot of booby shaking going on. The second episode, though, there's really not as much. So I feel like it was just like the first episode trying to get people hooked on the boobies. But I definitely think it still won me over with all of it was just so intelligent, and
there's a lot of depth to it as well.
Yeah, like
which I was expecting, and because a lot of it's to do with the ethics of war and trying to like how it's sort of in everyone's best interest to prolong it.
Yeah, which is like interesting. It's really interesting for me. Like I'm really excited to see where they go with it. And I also really think the romance is really cute. I love the dynamic between the two main characters. It's really refreshing. It's not like she is like very aware of him, and he's just like really shy, but she's so forward. He's like, what do I do? And I just really like that. I think it's really cute. So I'm excited for more of that to happen.
Yeah. So when talking about sort of anime in general, I think a lot when I sort of compare it to sort of Western cartoons, sort of in the 90s, because I grew up watching things like X-Men and Spider-Man and shows like that, and then and I suppose sort of like one of the things that I think gets people interested really into animes, but it is sort of, it does deal a lot with more kind of darker, slightly more adult themes, and in a way they are sort of similar to those more grittier 90s cartoons. You know, they were kind of more darker, and they weren't afraid to, I think, treat the audience sort of intelligently, and that's one of the things I really liked about them. And it seemed like anime aside, when you sort of look at sort of cartoons sort of from the 2000s onwards, it's like they've gone a step back in sort of like they've become a lot more lighter. And I don't know if that's in a reaction to thinking that Western cartoons got too dark, but I think anime has always been more consistent in that it's always kind of dealt with kind of heavier issues, and I think that really sort of helps with storytelling.
I agree 100%. I think there's a lot of people that judge anime by saying it's all fan service, or it's just all child cartoons or something like that, or it's all childish, or power up screaming like Dragon Ball Z. Like, they don't fully understand that anime itself is not a genre. Like, anime is a form of media. It's like movie, television, music, writing. Like, those are forms of media. Those are not genres. Within anime, you get adult, like seinen, which is an more adult world. Like, everyone's an adult dealing with sex and drugs and blood and stuff like that. Or you also get shonen, which is for younger males, such like Naruto and Bleach and things like that. And so within anime itself, there are all of these widespread genres going on that people don't seem to realize that there are. And so I think like something with, when you compare it to like American cartoons, I think people are comparing them that by the art styles or by the form that they're in. Like, they're comparing that they're animated. Whereas like anime can be very dark and gritty, like you were saying, but it can also be for adults, or it can be for children. Like, it's so widespread. It's just like a category of things. Whereas I think American cartoons, like Western cartoons, are always aimed at children. Like, they aren't really going forward to push it towards adult audiences as much, which I wish that they would, because like Legend of Korra, that's something that was really good in like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those appeal to both children and adults, which is like what a lot of anime can do. And so I think Western cartoons, like, they could totally be awesome and like do that. Like, they could take the liberty and do that. And I wish that more will. I hope that they do. Like, they totally could kick ass at it if they did. I think that like Western cartoons are definitely more aimed at children right now, but I would love to see it grow and that it becomes more aimed at adults as well. So
yeah, it often seems like sort of Western distributors feel that they're afraid to sort of take the chance on it, I think. And so if they aim it kind of at younger kids, then that's a safer bet. And definitely. I think also it's a case of localization as well. You get a lot of sort of backlash from like sort of the purists who've seen the original, and they don't like the watered down product that's sometimes presented. I think a good example of that would be the series Yu-Gi-Oh. That's mainly to do the card game, and but there is like some people notice, but there is like a whole series that aired in Japan which never even aired in the US or in the Western world at all, which is sort of commonly referred to as Season 0, and very few of those episodes even deal with the card game. It's most about those the characters in kind of other situations, and it's sort of so when you compare that to sort of later interpretations, you get a completely different perspective on the show and the characters and how things are written.
It's also interesting when I don't think it happens quite as much anymore, but back when I was growing up, like Sailor Moon was the only real anime that was airing out. I think I was 5 or 6 when it first came out, and I thought it was so cool. I loved Sailor Moon to death, but then I found out how much they cut out of it. Like in the first season, like the finale of the first season, everybody dies. Everybody is horribly killed. But in the English version for kids, the dub, they're like, oh, they're fine, she just like disappeared, something like that. Like they super wash it down. Like they fear that kids can't handle that sort of a thing over here. And so like it's just crazy the kind of censorship that happens between anime and then when it comes over to like Western countries. So it's really interesting to see like what the dynamic between the culture is, like what they think kids can handle over here and compared to what kids can handle over there. It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, cool. So we've talked about sort of your job at Game Station and your channel. So what are there any other hobbies that you have? Any other things?
Not really. Not really. I exercise a lot. I love exercising. Kind of a hobby. Like I really go out of my way to do that. Reading. I love reading. But most of the time it's anime and manga. Like ever since I first watched Sailor Moon, like that's been my go-to hobby that I did. I write a lot. Writing is a big thing for me. So that is also another hobby that I have. But for the most part, it's anime and manga. That's kind of how that's what I collect. Like that's really the only collectible things I do. So, yeah, it's mostly that. It's really boring, but that's what I do.
So I was reading one of your favorite TV shows is Supernatural.
I love Supernatural. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a great show. I
guess it's a hobby, kind of. Watching.
Yeah, yeah. So, what got you into that? I mean, it's about sort of demons and slaying. So
my mom got me into Supernatural because and the funny about it is my mom is so innocent and sweet, like she's very conservative Christian, like not that like we couldn't swear or anything, but she's just very reserved in that way. But then she watched the first episode of Supernatural and she's like, Erin, we need to sit down and watch this show as a family. And so we all watched it. She's just like, isn't it just the best thing ever? And she just loved it to death. And then like Castiel came on and she's like, that hot angel man, I'm telling you. I was like, Mom, you can't call somebody hot. So yeah, my mom really got me into it, but then I just fell in love with it. Like, I mean, the acting in the first season isn't the greatest, but the storytelling, the lore, the writing, the background, it was just such a complete story. There was so much intelligence that went into it that I was just blown away. And like, you don't see that in a lot of stories. Like, it's become more so now, but it was one of those first ones that I'd seen in a really long time that had so much thought put into it. It wasn't just episode by episode, something else happens, something else happens. Like, I just thought it was really well done. I loved the dynamic between the two brothers. I adore Jensen Ackles. I think his acting in the 3rd and 4th season were like Emmy worthy. Like, he was amazing in those. And then when they brought in the angels and the demons, like, it was just really emotional. The writing was superb. I just loved it to death. I just think it was really well done. And it also is really cool to see them interact with their audience, like them playing to the audience sometimes, or even poking fun at their audience. Like, I just love it. They aren't afraid to make fun of themselves. They aren't afraid to make fun of their awesome fandom. It was just really cool. I thought the people that worked on it were great, and it's just, I thought it was an awesome series all around. I love it so much.
I may be confusing it with another series, but was there an episode where there was a giant talking bear? Like teddy bear?
Giant talking bear? Yes, yeah. And it was amazing.
I still remember seeing that. Yeah, I was thinking, and he was like an alcoholic. He had a drinking problem, and it was like, what is going on here?
He tries to commit suicide by shooting himself, and it like pans off. He shoots himself, and all this stuff of like stuffing flies out.
Yeah, it's like,
and he's like, why? It's amazing. Oh, it's so much. If you have not seen that, people, you need to watch Supernatural season 4. It's in the 4th season, like episode 13, I think. Yeah. I've seen it a lot.
Yeah. I often think that new Devil May Cry game, I often think that's, I think essentially the way Dante looks in it, he's essentially become Dean Winchester, and it's become Supernatural, the video game.
You're totally right.
That's what it is, and
totally
I'm okay with that.
King Winchester is just one of my favorite fictional characters ever.
Yeah. I think he'd if they ever did a movie of Devil May Cry, he'd make a great Dante.
Yeah, he totally would. You're right. I want Jensen Ackles to get more acting stuff. I think he's just amazing.
Yeah. I remember him when he was briefly in Smallville as well.
Mm-hmm. He actually quit. The reason he was killed off in Smallville was so that he could start Supernatural. Yeah.
And so, are there any future projects you have on the horizon? Not only editing-wise at the Game Station, but also for your channel?
For my channel, I'm going to keep doing first impressions and reviews. I need to kick those up. It's been a while since I've done one. But I also, this is in the very early planning stages, and so I'm going to tease it a little bit here. I can't say too much about it.
An exclusive, yeah.
So I'm going to tease it. We are actually, me and a few friends are planning to put together a manga book club. So kind of like a manga podcast type things. I'm really excited about it. That's really all the details I can give right now. We have kind of a set date. We don't know for sure, so I'm not going to announce it yet, but I'm really excited about it. So manga book club coming soon.
So are you going to have guests and things?
Yeah, there's going to be hopefully 4 regulars of us, and then we'll bring on another guest every now and then. So yeah, like I said, I can't do too much detail. Well, basically what it'll be is just like a book club. We'll read some manga and then we'll get together and talk about it for an hour. And so I'm really excited about it.
Well, let me know about it when something comes of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'd really like to see it. So I'm going to sort of this will be a question that I'm going to ask everyone who comes on this or to do these interviews. So if you could create a video game, so if like a developer came to you and said, "Aaron, you can create a new video game. It can be whatever you want. What would it be and why?"
Oh, I don't know. A new video game.
Yeah, it can be whatever you want it to be.
I think I would make. I loved the art style of Borderlands, so I think it'd be something similar to Borderlands, where you could have lots of guns.
Cell shaded.
Yeah, shell shaded, and also the gun aspect of it, where it's like so many guns and so many possibilities for leveling up. It'd be like that, and then it would be set on Jupiter, just because Jupiter's awesome. Other than that, I don't know. Lots of guns in Jupiter.
Lots of guns in Jupiter. Well,
there you go.
If there are any developers out there, so if there are any game developers out there, make sure you get on that. Guns in Jupiter.
Guns in Jupiter.
So,
that's the name.
Mm-hmm. So
you're so disappointed in that answer.
No, I want to hear. It can be whatever it is. No, that's great. So, what do you want to say to all the people who have been following you so far on your YouTube channels and throughout your career so far? What do you have to say to them?
Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome, sexy otter faces, and I just can't thank you enough. I think you guys are the bee's knees, and I just love the fact that you guys like my content, and I will continue to put more out for you because you are just the greatest and deserve it. I'm honestly always so blown away. Whenever I get one new subscriber, I'm just like, why? This is awesome. This is so great. So just thank you. And anime. Anime. So also sorry that I talk about food so much on Twitter.
So, do you have any social media links you want to promote?
Everything I have, I tend to make it HappiLeeErin, and usually I get it because it's a really random name. So I have Twitter.com/HappiLeeErin is my Twitter. HappiLeeErin.tumblr.com is my Tumblr. I have my anime list, which I think is like myanimelist.net/HappiLeeErin. It might be /user/HappiLeeErin. What else is there? Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook.com/HappiLeeErin.
Yeah.
So that's another one.
Okay, guys, all the links will be in the description below, so be sure to check those out. And, well, Erin, it's been great having you on for this interview, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I did. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.